Ever wonder what sets millionaires apart? Like, what makes them different? Is it all just, I don't know, luck? Or maybe they all inherited a fortune from a long-lost relative? Huh. Well, today we're diving into a fascinating source, 10 hábitos de millonarios, to see if we can unlock the code to success. And the best part, you don't need a bank vault to crack this one. This source really digs into the daily habits of these high achievers.
You know, it got me thinking, what if these habits aren't really about the money itself, but more about a mindset? Even if we're not all chasing, $1 billion valuation, who wouldn't want to, borrow a few strategies from those who've reached the top?
Absolutely. What we often find is that success, regardless of the field, leaves clues. And one of the most consistent patterns we see among these high achievers is this, an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. Which brings us to habit number 1. Millionaires. They're serious about reading. And I'm not talking about just skimming headlines on their phones. These folks devour books like it's like an Olympic sport. Take Bill Gates, for instance. He's famous for his annual reading list, right?
Yeah.
He goes through tons of biographies, scientific papers, books on global issues, you name it.
And the thing is, it's not just about the sheer quantity of reading. It's about strategic knowledge acquisition. Warren Buffett, for example, reportedly spends a huge chunk of his day reading financial statements, industry reports, anything to stay ahead of the curve. They use reading as a tool to constantly learn and improve.
So it's less about escaping reality with a good novel and more about arming yourself with the information that can actually change your decision-making and ultimately your results.
Precisely. And you know what? This applies to any field. It really does.
Yeah.
Whether you're in tech, healthcare, the arts, you name it, becoming a student of your craft through reading, it can give you a real advantage.
Now, speaking of having an edge, habit number 2 is all about routine, the power of a solid routine. We've all heard it a million times. Win the morning, win the day. Well, millionaires, they seem to take this to heart, don't they? Look at Jeff Bezos. He's a huge advocate for starting the day with exercise. He even schedules important meetings later in the day just to protect that morning routine.
And there's a reason for that. There's actually a scientific basis for this. See, when you dedicate even just 30 minutes each morning to things that energize you, maybe it's meditation, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's just enjoying a cup of coffee in peace, you set the tone for a more focused, productive day.
It's almost like you're priming the canvas before you start painting your masterpiece. You're creating the best possible conditions for success. But then to paint that masterpiece, you need a vision, right? A clear vision.
Exactly. And that brings us to habit number 3. Millionaires, they're laser focused on their goals. And not just vague wishes. They define exactly what they want and then break it down into achievable steps.
And this is where the whole SMART goals thing comes in, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. It's not just a catchy acronym, it's a framework, a way to make those dreams a reality.
Think of it this way. If you were going on a road trip, you wouldn't just hop in the car and start driving without a destination in mind, right? You'd use a map. SMART goals, that's your roadmap to success.
Okay, so we've got the knowledge from reading, the structure of a good routine, and the clarity of well-defined goals. But what about, our circle of influence, the people we surround ourselves with?
Yes. That brings us to habit number 4. Millionaires are incredibly intentional about their network. You know that saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with? Well, they really take that to heart.
So it's about curating your inner circle, making sure the people you spend time with, they lift you up, inspire you, challenge you to be better, not drag you down, right?
It's a powerful question to ask yourself. Are the people around you pushing you to be your best self? Because those relationships, they have a huge impact on our mindset, our beliefs, our potential.
It's true. It's show me your friends and I'll show you your future kind of thing.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And you know what? That actually leads us perfectly into habit number 5. This one's all about taking risks, calculated risks, that is.
Right. Not like jumping out of a plane without a parachute or anything.
Exactly. We're not talking about being reckless. It's more about, having the guts to step outside your comfort zone, but doing it strategically. Take Sarah Blakely, for example, the Spanx founder. She actually invested all her savings, everything she had, I think is around $5,000 to start her company, even cut the feet off her pantyhose to make the first prototype. Now that's a risk.
Talk about betting on yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was calculated, right?
Okay.
She'd done her research, believed in her idea, and the rest of the story.
It's about weighing the potential upside against the what ifs and making an informed decision.
Exactly.
And speaking of investments, that brings us to habit number 6, which is, investing in yourself.
Oh, I love this one.
Now, we always think about, money, stocks, real estate, but millionaires, they seem to get that investing in your own growth is just as important.
Absolutely. It could be anything, really going to conferences, workshops, maybe even hiring a coach or mentor, or even just, setting aside time every day to learn something new.
It's like you wouldn't expect a pro athlete to just like show up for the big game without putting in the work,
Right.
like training, eating right, all that.
Exactly. They invest in themselves to perform at their peak. Same principle applies to any field.
Makes sense. So invest in your own success.
Exactly. And that actually leads us right into habit number 7, financial mastery.
Okay, now this one might seem kind of obvious, right? I mean, we're talking about millionaires here, but
But here's the thing. It's not just about earning a lot, right? It's about understanding how money works, managing it, making it work for you.
so we're talking like budgeting, saving, all that stuff some people find intimidating or, well, let's be honest, a little boring.
Right. But millionaires, they often see these as, as essential tools, ways to build and protect what they've earned.
So it's less about being a penny pincher and more about being smart, strategic.
Exactly. It's about taking control of your financial future no matter how much you're currently making.
Now that's empowering. And speaking of control, that brings us to, let me check my notes here. Yes. Habit number 8, the power of focus. This is a big one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a world of distractions.
Tell me about it. It's like a constant battle for our attention.
Exactly. And yet, somehow, millionaires seem to have this knack for just, like, tuning out the noise and honing in on what matters.
Right. And, we might think they've released some secret weapon, like a special app or something. While those things can help, sometimes it really comes down to something much simpler.
Oh, like what?
Discipline, prioritization. Many of these millionaires, they structure their whole day to minimize distractions.
So, like, they're not scrolling through social media for an hour when they should be working on a big project.
Exactly. They might, block off time for focused work, limit their social media use, or even delegate tasks that someone else can handle.
So it's about being intentional, right?
Right.
Deciding where your time and energy go and focusing on what truly makes a difference.
Now you're getting it. And this actually ties into our next habit, which might surprise you, gratitude.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, I get it, being thankful and all, but we're talking about millionaires here. Don't they, like, always want more? Bigger, better, faster.
Sure, ambition is definitely part of it. But here's the thing. A lot of millionaires, they're surprisingly grounded. They make a point of being grateful for what they already have.
So it's not just about chasing the next big thing, but also about appreciating the journey.
Right.
Recognizing how far they've already come.
Exactly. Oprah Winfrey, for example, she's a huge advocate for gratitude journaling. She takes time each day to write down what she's thankful for.
Huh, interesting.
And there's actually quite a bit of research now that suggests practicing gratitude can, literally rewire your brain.
Wow, really? So it's not just some feel-good practice, it has actual benefits.
Absolutely. It helps you shift from a scarcity mindset, that feeling of I don't have enough, to an abundance mindset. I have more than enough, and I'm grateful for it.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection here, and that actually leads us perfectly into our final habit, which kind of sums up this whole idea of growth.
And that is,
never stop learning. Millionaires, they get that success isn't a destination, it's a journey.
yeah,
Right? And you got to keep learning, evolving, adapting along the way.
100%. Even those who are, at the top of their game, they're still hungry to learn. They go to conferences, read constantly, surround themselves with experts. They're like lifelong students.
It's kind of inspiring, actually. No matter how much you achieve, there's always more to discover, more to learn.
Take Elon Musk, for example, always pushing the limits, right? And not just in one field. Space travel, electric cars, now AI. He embodies that growth mindset, never settling.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here, I think the big takeaway is this. These habits, they're not some secret formula reserved for the super rich. They're things anyone can adopt.
Right. It's about making choices every day that align with your goals, nurturing your own growth, approaching life with that mix of ambition and gratitude we were talking about.
It's about recognizing that success leaves clues. And while we may not all be building rockets or, launching tech empires, we can still learn from those who do. And who knows, maybe even apply those lessons to create our own extraordinary lives.
So as you reflect on these habits, which one speaks to you the most? What's one small step you can take today to make it a part of your own life?